Hi guys, and welcome to the University of Law's Future Pupils podcast. My name is Queenet and I'm a future pupil at 5 Pump Court, and I'm joined here by Evie, who I'm going to hand over to now.
Hi everyone, I'm Evie and I'm a future pupil at Foundry Chambers starting in October.
Hi Evie.
Hi Queenet.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about pro bono work, and I'm just going to first start off by saying what pro bono is. So it means public good, and it's basically a legal professional providing free either legal advice or representation in court. So it's always free to the client and it's always provided on a voluntary basis by the legal professional. So Evie, have you done pro bono work before?
I did a couple of different types of pro bono work. So when I was on the BPC, I did work at a family clinic as part of a BPC LLM. And then after I left bar school, I managed a charity called Intervene Project, which is also a pro bono project as well.
Yeah, I also did the BPC LLM, also in the family clinic. And I was actually really, really lucky. I was able to actually represent a client it was a hearing. I can't remember what hearing it was, but I got to represent the client in front of a magistrate and it was really, really fun. And then, yes, after that, I have volunteered at other charities to provide help to people that can't afford legal fees. So Evie, how did you get involved in the charity work you did?
So I applied for pupillage for the first time during bar school and I received a reserve offer, but unfortunately did not secure the real offer because most people that get a pupillage offer will, of course, take it. How sad. So after I picked myself up from that setback, I realised that the key thing I was missing from my legal CV, from my pupillage applications, was evidence that I'd worked with prisoners because I'm going to be a criminal barrister. And so I decided that some really invaluable experience would be to do pro bono work with prisoners or detainees. I then heard about Intervene Project from a friend. I applied to be a volunteer. And then after about 5 weeks, I was offered the job of managing the charity, which is really cool.
Yeah, so like I said, I used to volunteer with Support Through the Court, and that was mainly because I knew I wanted to get into family law, and they only assist with civil or family claims. So yeah, I just randomly applied. Actually, I think I haunted them and I made them look at my application because nobody was responding to me. So I kept emailing them and I was like, I really want to volunteer. And then I finally did. And yeah, the exposure was great. I got to sit in the hearings, although I obviously wasn't allowed to talk. So it was a bit like being a Mackenzie friend, but you really got to see the dynamic of how the case went and, you know, hear the judge give judgment or give directions for the next hearing, and speak with the client about it after. So it was really, really fun. And that helped me a lot in, firstly, just opening a lot of other legal experiences and legal jobs as well, actually. I think it really helped me get my paralegaling job as a family paralegal. But it also made my application stand out because I'd had so much experience of going into the family court and seeing the different types of hearings, and being able to, you know, analyze it and use it in my application as to the different types of scenarios that I'd seen. So that was good. What I did when I was volunteering was firstly, so they had a system. I think it was like a OneDrive kind of vibe where like all the clients' information was there. So you'd go in and see what clients you're booked in with. Obviously, you're not allowed to give legal advice, but with some people, it was just literally signposting to fill out this document online. This is the document you need. Reading over their witness statements. So you'd go in, do research and see what exactly they're asking for help albeit not legal advice. So you go in, look into the calendar, see, okay, I've got an appointment. This person needs help with, let's say, a child arrangements application. So you know that you're going to go through a child arrangements application with them. Now,
what is a child arrangement?
Oh, child arrangements application. So it's usually when a parent is seeking an order of the court to do with their child. So it might be to do with shared time with the other parent, or for the other parent not to see the child, or perhaps they want to change the child's school and the parents can't agree. So they're now seeking a court order to say that the child can be moved schools. So it's quite a wide application in terms of private children law. So you look through the application. Well, this is what I did anyway. I looked through the application to actually see what sort of questions they were asking. And a lot of these applications come with guidance notes anyway. And so you look through the guidance note and you see what or how they want you to answer the questions. And also a lot of the time as well, we would help clients fill out the help with fees form, which is basically the court fee being waived if you're not able to afford it. So that's almost what a day would look like. You'd obviously meet with your client and help them fill out the form, answer any questions. I think the really tough part was them asking you questions that could constitute as legal advice. And so you're thinking, if I answer this, am I giving you legal advice? So it was always best to just say, I'm not really sure, I can't answer that question, or you'll need to go to a legal professional for them to answer that question for you. And I think the joy of it was that you were able to actually see some clients through. So you would start off the application with them, and then you were able to actually go into the hearing with them, make notes for them, and speak to them after about what happened in the hearing and the next steps. And it's really useful for them, because if you're a litigant in person, it's scary when you're not a legal professional, you don't know what's going on. But having someone there that has a little bit of an understanding and is able to actually talk to you about it and tell you this is what they said, because most times you're not really listening to the directions, you're just thinking, are you going to do what I want or not? So having someone there that can debrief you with, this is what's happened, and this is what you need to do, is really, really helpful. And I think a lot of litigants in person are really grateful for that service. Yeah. What about you?
So at Intervene, because I was managing, I would do sort of the more big picture aspects of the charity as well as individual client work. So when I took over the role as manager, I inherited sort of a caseload of about 200 clients. Intervene Project is a legal charity established by Kaiser & Co solicitors, and they basically sue prisons or issue claims against prisons or the MOJ for abuses against prisoners in prison. And we would also provide legal guidance to prisoners in a range of problems. So be it, for instance, in an adjudication, which is where a prisoner is reprimanded in prison and they have sort of a mini trial based on their behaviour, we would help them with their defence for that, because they don't get legal aid for it. We would help them with clinical negligence problems. We would help them with poor dentistry, poor diet, maybe religious discrimination, racial discrimination, poor access to education. And it's no secret that the prison service now is very underfunded. There are lots of problems with it, and pair that with prisoners now being stripped of their right to legal aid in most of their matters. That's sort of the gap that Intervene Project tries to plug. In my role, what would usually happen is a prisoner would call me up. They would have an issue. I would talk to them about that issue, establish whether they had a claim, and then hopefully issue a claim for them and take it to the county court and win them some money or an apology or some other kind of compensation or reprimand against a prison for the behaviour that the prisoner has suffered. So it was really good work. I think I learned a lot of skills from it. And I also got to train up the volunteers who would all be doing the pro bono work as well. And they'd be maybe drafting letters of claim or putting cases together or researching or talking to the client. So it was a really fantastic experience.
And you know how you said you learned loads of skills. How are you able to demonstrate those skills on your applications?
Absolutely. I can't underestimate the fact or the difference working at Intervene had on my pupillage applications. So I applied for pupillage for 2 years. The first year was before I went to Intervene without that experience. And I only really received a handful of interviews, not many second round interviews, and my reserve offer. Whereas the next year I received interviews at almost all the sets I applied to. And of course, I secured my actual pupillage offer from Foundry. And so I do think that pro bono work had a really profound impact on my applications. And in terms of the skills that I was able to show, I could really show that in terms of my interpersonal skills, I was effective in building relationships with the type of clients I will be dealing with at the bar. I was able to listen to their concerns. I was able to deliver realistic advice, but also empathetic advice. And I was also able to handle a very busy caseload, 200 clients. That was really good for showing I could handle the hustle and bustle of the criminal bar. So I do think it had a really profound impact on my applications. And certainly all the chambers and all the interviews wanted to hear funny stories about my clients or about my experiences. I think it really shaped my skills as a person in terms of my ability to sort of separate the professional from the personal and develop my emotional intelligence and all those really key skills that often get overlooked when you're studying. So yeah, it was really great. What about you? What sort of skills did you think you got out of it?
Yeah, so with family law, I think what most sets are looking for is that you've done experience in that area and you're sure that that's an area you want to go to, because obviously family law is very emotional, it's emotive, and it's very personal. And I think volunteering at Support Through Court, I got to see different types of applications, whether it was divorce applications or matrimonial finances or child arrangements applications. You definitely got a wide exposure across family law, and I think it allowed me to develop my interpersonal skills and also develop a professional relationship that was still able to show empathy but also still be professional, because obviously you speak to your clients before, you see how they're feeling, you try and manage their emotions, but also you speak to them after and you say, okay, you know what, I know that you're emotional, but this is what you've got to do next. And I think that really helped me in my application. It helped me set apart the fact that I know how to build a professional relationship with clients at such a difficult time, which you probably wouldn't really get that level of experience or opportunity to do if you weren't volunteering there. So yeah, I was really able to demonstrate those skills. I was able to demonstrate how I could show empathy, how I can, not attach but also detach myself from cases because it's so personal and so deep. But also to show my commitment to this area, because I volunteered there for about 6 months. I was there for quite a while, and that's not getting paid, which was obviously, a huge sacrifice, not being paid. But at the end of the day, I don't regret it because I think the experience that I got was invaluable. And it also opened doors in terms of me getting legal employment, especially as a paralegal, because they're always looking for at least a year's experience.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I wasn't so set on going to the bar when I worked at Intervene, there were definitely opportunities available. So once I moved on from that role to work within the firm, if I wanted to explore being a solicitor or a paralegal. So definitely if you do get a placement that's volunteering, just be open-minded to the fact that maybe you're not getting paid now, and that of course isn't ideal, but it could lead to employment. When I was at Intervene, I was initially a volunteer as well, and then thankfully after a few weeks I was offered an employed job as a manager of it, and so I got that job out of volunteering. So you never know what could come of it.
Especially networking as well. So where we were based, there was a set there, and the barristers always used to come in and just offer mini pupillages as well, to people that used to volunteer there as well. So you never know what doors it's going to open. So don't underestimate pro bono. work in volunteering, because it will give you good experience, make you stand out on your applications, and as Evie said, it can open up other doors for you.
Exactly. Do you have any advice if any of the students are in a difficult position financially, and of course pro bono work is for free? How could they go about managing doing the work?
I think I don't know how long you volunteered before you moved into employment at Intervene, but I think just at least committing, whether it's once or twice a week, fortnightly, once a month, just doing something that gives you the experience that you need. If you're working, obviously speak to your manager and see if they would allow you that one time a month or one time a week to just volunteer. And it doesn't have to be for the whole day. So when I used to volunteer, it was just for a couple of hours, and I'll just do it for 2-3 hours in the morning or the evening, well, late afternoon, whatever really worked for me. Obviously, like you said, you're volunteering, so I think see what works for you. Speak to the people that you're volunteering with. For example, usually you can get some reimbursements, whether it's for travel or food or lunch, but speak to them and see what you can do. Maybe try and find some remote volunteering as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be in person, and see if that works with them as well. So hopefully that gives you a bit more flexibility in what you can do, and hopefully it takes off the financial pressure. I think that's what I would say. What about you?
Yeah, definitely a couple of my volunteers at Intervene, their employers, be it maybe a cafe or a pub, or they were a solicitor's firm, and they asked for one day off a week to volunteer. And either their hours would be placed on the other days they were working, or some sort of collaborative situation was developed for them, but the employers are very receptive to them doing the work. And even if you're at a commercial firm, so maybe you're not at a legal aid firm wanting to do pro bono work, but a commercial firm, a lot of the commercial firms want to look good. They want to look like they support pro bono. So they'll actually be probably more receptive to you doing pro bono than you would have thought.
Yeah, and I think if you're actually already in legal employment, if you don't want to go to another charity or do pro bono elsewhere, try and suggest it at your firm, like Evie said, and like you said, most people want to look good for pro bono, so definitely try and start it, and see if that's something that your firm would be receptive to doing. If not, I think a lot of legal practitioners understand the value of pro bono work, and so they're usually quite open to you wanting to get involved in that area. I think the important thing to remember is that, pro bono does come with sacrifices. The people that are volunteering, they're also sacrificing their time and probably financial means as well. And it's just for a moment. I mean, like, I know when I go into practice, I'm definitely going to get involved in pro bono work. But I'm no longer volunteering now because obviously I work, but I've been able to do it for the time that I needed it, and it's been helpful to me. So try not to look at the, there's like a phrase, like, try not to look at the, I'm probably making phrases up.
The negative.
Is it the negative, or like try not to look at the now and look forward to what?
Oh,
do you get what I'm saying?
Picture thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
no, definitely. As the pro bono guru at ULaw Queenet, do you have any recommends as the sort of initiatives people could get involved in? Any charities you think are good?
So depending on the area of law you want to go into, if you're not sure, then I'll probably start off with the Citizen Advice Bureau, just because they cover quite a wide range of areas of law, such as housing, civil, family. If you want to go into crime, then Intervene.
Absolutely, Intervene.
Where Evie used to volunteer. You've got other charities such as Advocate, which obviously you have to apply to be a caseworker. So definitely check out their application process. If you want to go more into family law or civil, then I'll definitely recommend Support Through Court, or National Centre for Domestic Violence, or domestic charities such as Women's Aid. Those areas usually focus on family law. Obviously, you need to check their application process. So definitely do that. I know here we've got two clinics that we run, which is the family law clinic and the small business advice clinic, which I think is actually really fun, because you get to see a bit of commercial legal advice being given. And then you can also do the pro bono masters added with your course. I'm not sure what areas of law they do now, but when I was here, or when I was a student, it was family law, immigration, and I think housing.
Yeah, I think it was the same when I was there.
So, pick one of those areas and see what you can do.
The Pro Bono LLM, what's that?
Okay, so the Pro Bono LLM is the master's pathway. So you get your master's included with your bar qualification, and you're able to work in the law clinic. So you're working alongside or under the supervision of your supervisor, and you're able to actually do what a solicitor or a legal representative would do, such as give advice, send out client care letters, send out letters, correspond with them, and if the case goes to court, you might also be able to represent them in court as well. I would really recommend it. I don't know if Evie got to do advocacy representation during
I sadly didn't because of COVID year, but I still think it was very valuable in terms of for my pupillage applications before I worked for Intervene. That was the only real pro bono work I had. And I did get to interact with a client over a long period of time and build a relationship with them. So I think it was still valuable experience. But now we're out of COVID, the opportunities available at ULaw on the LLM are far greater.
Yeah.
And because you will get to go in court and you'll get to work on cases with your peers in the office, in the clinic. So I do think it's a really valuable experience. And of course, if you do the LLM, you get a postgraduate student loan, which can really help you with your bar school fees as well. So that's always a bonus.
And you get 2 qualifications. You get your bar course qualification.
True.
And then you get your master's qualification as well.
Yeah. So that'll again look impressive on your pupillage applications. And then Queenet, when you were talking about your pro bono experience in pupillage interviews, how do you advise anyone that's maybe already done the pro bono, how they can best bring that out in their pupillage interview answers?
During your pupillage interviews, definitely have the STAR method to hand, but also say what your passion was for volunteering with who you volunteered for. So talk about why you did it, what you did, what it included, the skills that you learned, and if it was a difficult client, if it was a good client, talk about the relationships you built, how you built it, and how you maintained it. And did you enjoy it as well? What was the good part? What was the good part about it? What was the bad part about it? And what you learned from it as well, and what you've taken away from it.
Yeah, so in terms of approaching my experiences at Intervene in pupillage interviews, I did find that most panels asked me questions about my experiences. And I think what you've got to remember with pupillage interviews is the key is to be memorable and to be interesting. The panel are sitting there for hours on end listening to a lot of the same content over and over again. So what you can really draw from pro bono work is funny stories or heartwarming stories or stories that impacted you. And that can be an excellent way for you to show not only your skills as a future pupil, but also your personality and experiences that have really meant a lot for you. I'd often get asked in terms of my clients, can you tell us about a time you've dealt with someone in distress? And of course, a lot of the prisoners would call me up in severe distress because mental health resources aren't available to them in prisons in the volume that they need to be. And so a lot of my job at Intervene, alongside sort of doing all the legal stuff, was actually providing them with a bit of emotional support. And so I draw on those experiences in my interviews, and that would be good at bringing out the fact that my motivation to practice in crime is to provide a voice for the marginalised when they are sidelined or ostracized by society, or where everything is against them, whether rightly or wrongly, based on what they've done or how they've acted. And it's just being that impartial source of reassurance and support and protecting their rights, I guess. So I do think that my experiences at Intervene were so valuable in terms of pupillage interviews, as well as shaping me as a person, just because I was able to share all my stories and a lot of them being very funny. So
that's us on pro bono. I really do hope we've encouraged you guys to get involved in pro bono work and to do something good and give back to the legal community. A lot of practitioners that you probably meet have definitely done pro bono at one point in time in their career. And I hope that when you guys, start practicing, you two are also able to volunteer your time and give free legal advice or representation to those that really can't afford it. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.